Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it. Greetings, Algo Artisans. Cowboy, aka Nick here, and we're going to take a look at the charts. Before we get started, first of all, apologies. The last couple of weeks had some personal items and had to take a couple weeks off of the weekly report. First week I told you about ahead of time. Second week was unexpected. That's all handled. Everything's great, and we're going to move on. So first things first, get your free algo links in the description. You get to see me build an algo, turn it into code by using Grok, and then I show you the solutions that a lot of traders use to connect their algo to their exchanges to trade while they are not at the computer. The algo itself does need to be optimized, so don't just go and trade it. In the meantime, it is a great learning tool and it's free. Today we're going to take a look at the usual suspects. We're going to take a look at the NASDAQ futures, USDJPY, EURUSD, Bitcoin, AUDUSD, USDCAD, GBPJPY, and gold. Before we do that, we're going to take a look at the economic news and data that's coming out this week over at forexfactory.com. The next event up is going to be 10:30 p.m. EST Monday night. That's the Australian cash rate monetary policy statement from their central bank, and then the press conference comes out at 11:30 p.m. EST. Next is Tuesday afternoon, 4:45 p.m. EST. The New Zealand employment change and unemployment rate comes out. Wednesday, 8:15 a.m. we have ADP non-farm employment change. That's on the U.S. side. And then we have the ISM services PMI coming out at 10 a.m. EST on Wednesday. Thursday, we have at 7 a.m. the British data, Bank of England monetary policy statement, their policy summary, and then at 8:30 a.m. Thursday the 6th at 7 a.m. we have the Bank of England's monetary policy report, their policy summary, and then the presser is 30 minutes later at 7:30 a.m. EST. Friday we have Canadian employment data coming out at 8:30 a.m. EST. Scheduled tentatively around that time is U.S. data, hourly earnings, non-farm employment data, unemployment rate. However, the government is shut down. We may not see that data that day or that time. Following that at 10 a.m. EST is preliminary University of Michigan consumer and inflation data coming out. Okay, let's jump into the charts with the NASDAQ. Now, the NASDAQ is always a little tricky because it just gets pushed up. When it's supposed to head down, even according to the algorithms, it tends to get caught, held, and pushed up. This is why I have a contingency that price may simply go up from here, right? Now, it didn't happen on the Monday open, which means we might see a sideways week, but under any circumstance, you'll notice I have a prediction of higher lows going on. And I think that that's just what will happen. We'll see either sideways with a bullish move, eventually a breakout, or it might even break out at any time before that. And that's just how the NASDAQ works and goes. I have to play that by ear. The lower bound to watch out for is going to be 25,850, and then there is an opening gap that occurred on the CME going back to the Sunday open on the 26th of October. That gap eventually should fill. CME gaps tend to fill. We're going to see if that happens or not. I don't know that it'll happen this week, but this week is as good a week as any, so there's always that chance the price does kind of dive down to grab that. Chances are, though, that will be the low and it continues up even after that. So tricky NASDAQ. We'll see how it goes. Let's move on to USDJPY. Now, this pair and the dollar in general has just been bullish, and you'll notice even in this short-term look back to last Thursday, every move down just gets bought up. Even the moves down that look like they're going to be strong, they all get bought up, so I do expect this to continue to go sideways to up. You have your local high to beat at 154.78. If price goes above there, it probably will extend a bit further. The local low is sitting at 153.65, and the more regional low, if you will, the low that matters a little bit more as far as what's strong support is around 153.30, but I don't see price heading down there outside of a surprise news event. Let's take a look at the euro. Now, the euro is bearish. We do have a support at 114.58, and then we have another stronger support sitting at 113. If I zoom out, you can see that this support at 113 kind of stands out pretty strong, right? It's got almost kind of a double bottom back here, so it's strong. And then we have a little bit of support, like I said, above that. Price probably will head down. It may go sideways before it does, but right now I just have it a little bit bullish. It might bounce around 114.58. If it breaks below that, you're probably looking at a move down to 113.90, and then price may bounce there. We'll see how that goes. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is in the middle of a head and shoulders continuation pattern. Price was headed down, made a head and shoulders, and may head down further. Now, the targets for such a pattern are based on Fibonacci levels. The first target at about 104,000. The second target sitting at about 100,500. Price may go down to these levels. Right now, I'm expecting at least to move down to 104 or just below. There is a support, though, locally sitting at 103.5. That's 103,500 from this move that bottomed out on the 17th of October. So price could actually bounce there. And if Bitcoin does end up up being bullish, that might be where we see the bounce happen, just guarding 100,000. It may make it down to that second Fibonacci target down at 100,000 and 350 or so, and then price might bounce from there. We're gonna have to see how that goes. Again, the market is a little bit tricky. Things can happen, events make things change, and so on and so forth, but that's what the algos say. Let's take a look at AUDUSD. This one is just bearish. It may go sideways from here. There's a bit of support sitting right at 65.24 cents. So what I didn't draw on here is the possibility that the price kind of goes sideways and even bounces a bit, but I do think it's going to get attracted back down into this range. And that range is between 65.23 cents top side and 64.71 cents downside. I think price is going to go in here and maybe rock back and forth a little bit. There's a lot of liquidity to be eaten up. If I were to go just strictly by the algos, it'll probably just grind sideways and down. By the end of the week, probably reach at the bottom of that range. May not break below, though. I think there's a decent support in that area. If not, there's a strong support down at 64.40 if price does break down below the bottom of that range. Let's take a look at USDCAD. Now this one is just bullish and advanced really strong going back to the end of October, last Wednesday. And if that continues unabated, we should be seeing price head up towards 142.23. I don't think it will hit that. I think that's pretty lofty to do in the next 4 days. It's possible, but we do have a strong resistance sitting at 140.81, right? $1.40.812 Canadian. So price may actually reject there, or if it breaks, it might extend and then cool off a little bit. But either way, things are generally bullish, sideways to up. Let's take a look at GBPJPY. Not expecting a lot out of this one. I think we're going to get sideways action, most likely between the top side of the range, 203.27 JPY, and the bottom at 201.81 JPY. Price will probably rock around in there. If it breaks above, it'll probably go sideways as well, with this top level resistance at 204.28 and the lower level at 257. So again, a lot of sideways action. Let's take a look at gold to round it all off. Now, gold's been really bullish. If you back up, you can see it's just advanced crazy in the last few months, and not to mention the rest of the year. However, it may need some time to sell off, so I am expecting some sideways action, but a lot of people are out there buying gold, okay? So it may be that we just simply see gold make a new higher low right here. You see the other little arrows that I painted right there, and there. We might see a new higher low and gold advances. If not, we could see gold go down to retouch around 3,885, although I don't know if we'll see that this week. It's really hard to say what's going to happen with gold. Does this big move need to cool off? Will move down to 38, 39 will give us the clue that it's still cooling off and may even have to head down lower. In the future, if I were to take a look at how deep could it go before it really takes off again, kind of not the worst case scenario, but the lowest case scenario given the current data, I'd say is about 3,500. I don't think it's going to get there. I think the dip will get bought. A lot of it depends on how things happen around the world. If things can cool off, it's all very geopolitical. Thank you for watching. We're going to be live as we are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8:30 a.m. EST. We do our live show. Okay, so we do update these. We answer questions. If you come onto YouTube or Rumble, I can even answer your questions. What do you think is going to happen with this coin, or that stock, whatever it is? We do that for 10 minutes live, and then we go over to the live lab with our private members for the remainder of that hour. However, on Thursdays, we sometimes have Mako come in and trade live, and we sometimes keep that on YouTube for everybody to watch. So stay tuned for all of that. Also, get the free algo. Like I said, link is in the description. We show you how I build it, how I turn it into code, and what traders are using, what kind of tools they use to connect that to their exchange so it can trade for them while they're not at the computer. Thank you for watching AlgoFactory.tech. Learn how to trade like a hedge fund pro, and we will see you tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. sharp.